The web that shapes your life can be read, touched, and reprogrammed right now. In the next few minutes, you'll decode the 7 hidden signals your fascia sends to the brain before any thought even forms. These are neurofascial messages that shape every impulse, every decision, and every reaction that slips past your conscious control. This physical web runs through muscles, organs, nerves, and skin in a continuous fabric, speaking directly to the nervous system. It explains why certain areas of your life move forward while others stall with no clear reason. It explains the stories you keep reliving without ever choosing them, the reactions you don't recognize, and that quiet sense of something inside pulling the strings. Walking away from this video means ignoring the codes that keep your existence bound and continuing to be led by a force you were never taught to decode. What shapes your destiny before willpower is about to be revealed. This web is not just a passive structure holding your body together. It's a living neuroimmune interface, able to record in its very texture when there is threat, when there is safety, when the system collapses, and when there is room to expand. Every contraction, every thickening, every altered zone of density sends the brain a specific code before you think, feel, or choose. When you decode these 7 signals and learn how to intervene in the web, you move out of somatic submission, where reactions run your life, and into inner sovereignty, where the body becomes your ally once again. In the mystery schools of ancient Egypt, the body was always seen as a temple where universal laws are inscribed. The Emerald Tablet teaches that the microcosm reflects the macrocosm, that within the flesh is written the same language that governs stars and cycles. Fascia is this living script of destiny, an alchemical language woven fiber by fiber, able to be read by those who know where to touch and how to listen. At the 7th International Fascia Research Congress, recently held in New Orleans, researchers mapped this web as an active information system. Robert Schleip showed that in certain areas, it contains more nerve endings than the skin. Carla Stecco revealed how chronic emotional states structurally alter the tissue. Stephen Porges linked fascial states to the autonomic circuits of safety and threat. This is not vague symbolism, it is traceable mechanotransduction, what alchemists once called the transmutation of matter. Science now calls tissue plasticity. What hermeticists described as hidden keys of the temple, fascial research identifies as precise neuroimmune codes. Ancestral knowledge and neuroscience converge here. The web that moves your life can be reprogrammed because it was never static, only forgotten. The 7 codes this web sends to the brain are not abstract. They are trackable somatic states, each with its own texture, specific body, geography, and distinct neural message. The first code is hypervigilance. It shows up as a chronic armor set into the neck, trapezius muscles, and jaw. Fascia in these areas becomes dense, rigid, in a constant state of readiness. The body breathes shallowly, muscles refuse to relax, even during sleep. The message sent to the brain is clear: imminent danger, stay on high alert. This hypervigilance turns into identity when the nervous system forgets how to come down from a threat state. The person lives with raised shoulders, a clenched jaw, and eyes slightly widened, even in safe environments. It is not just mental anxiety. It is a fascial signal repeated so many times that the brain begins to interpret relaxation as a dangerous vulnerability. The body refuses to let go because the web keeps sending the same alarm signal without interruption. The second code is dorsal collapse. Here, the fascia around the sternum and thoracic spine loses tone, as if the body had given up trying to resist. The chest subtly caves in, the shoulders roll forward, the gaze dims. It is not ordinary sadness. It is an autonomic state where the nervous system concludes that fight or flight is no longer an option. So the only choice is to partially shut down. The fascial message reaching the brain: give up, conserve energy, pull away from the experience. This collapse becomes chronic when someone carries long stories of powerlessness, moments when nothing they did changed the outcome. The web records this as a survival pattern and starts sending a withdrawal code even when real opportunities for change appear. The body communicates extreme exhaustion with no proportional physical effort. It is not laziness. It is an autonomic circuit stuck in partial shutdown as a way to stay safe. The third code is imprinted shame. Carla Stecco showed that the superficial fascia, the layer just beneath the skin, responds to chronic emotional states with visible structural changes. Shame builds weight and thickness, especially in the fascia of the abdomen, inner thighs, and pelvic region. The body feels exposed, out of place, as if taking up space were a violation. The web sends a somatic message to the brain: you should not be here, not like this. The fourth code is creative stagnation. It condenses around the diaphragm and solar plexus. Breathing becomes shallow, never fully descending, and the exhale is cut short before the lungs are emptied. Ideas rise in the mind, but they cannot descend into the body and turn into action. The fascia surrounding the center of the torso creates a zone of compression that interrupts the downward flow. The neural message: there is no safe space for expression. Keep everything inside. The fifth code is somatic disconnection. Here, entire regions of the body feel numb to the touch. There is no pain, but no sensation either. Proprioception fades. When a person touches these areas, it feels like touching a foreign object, not part of themselves. The fascia in these zones loses active communication with the central nervous system. The message: it is not safe to inhabit this region. Better to numb than to feel what is stored here. The sixth code is emotional overload. It shows up as palpable fascial knots around the solar plexus, diaphragm, and throat. Unprocessed emotions become trapped in the tissue, creating diffuse tension and constant internal pressure. This is not ordinary muscular tension that eases with stretching. It is emotional buildup converted into fascial density. The web tells the brain: there is too much inside. The system is at the edge of what it can hold. The seventh code is ancestral retention. It appears as chronic tension in the pelvis, sacrum, and base of the spine that does not respond to conventional methods. These areas carry inherited patterns, generational trauma, and memories that precede personal history. The fascia in the pelvic region can retain information passed down epigenetically, creating stiffness and blockages that limit movement, vitality, and even life choices. The neural message: this story is not only yours, but you are living it as if it were. Now comes the mapping. Before you can reprogram the web, you need to identify which code is currently dominating your system. Bring your attention to the body. Where is the tension that never fully releases? Which area, when touched, brings up immediate emotional discomfort? Where do you feel an absence of sensation, as if that part doesn't exist? Hypervigilance reveals itself through the constant tightness at the back of the neck. Collapse shows up as the inability to hold your spine upright without conscious effort. Shame appears through the instinctive shrinking of the torso when being observed. Creative stagnation can be seen in a breath that never reaches below the floating ribs. Somatic disconnection becomes visible in blank spots on the body's internal map. Emotional overload can be identified through knots that hurt under light pressure. Ancestral retention manifests as unexplained rigidity in the pelvis that doesn't ease with common techniques. Stephen Porges teaches that the nervous system evaluates safety through neuroception, a preconscious reading of internal states. Fascia is the medium through which this reading occurs. Keith Barr demonstrated that connective tissue responds to repeated stimulation with cellular reorganization in cycles lasting from 48 to 72 hours. The web is not fixed. It is malleable, plastic, responsive. The dominant code can be changed. Place your hands on your own body. Breathe slowly. Notice where the body responds with tension, where your attention drifts away, where it goes silent. This is the moment of personal revelation. The abstract gains anatomical location. Destiny now has an address in the tissue. Once the code is identified, the web ritual begins. First stage, locating and making conscious contact. Place your hands exactly where the code is most active. If it's hypervigilance, go to the neck and trapezius muscles. If it's collapse, to the sternum and chest. If it's shame, to the abdomen and thighs. The touch should be firm, but without pressure, just sustained presence. This contact alone already begins the shift. Fascia responds to conscious touch with the release of local nitric oxide, relaxation of contractile fibers, and increased proprioception. Second stage, fascial microgliding with directed breathing while maintaining contact. Make minimal movements, gentle oscillations, light compression followed by release or tiny stretches of the tissue. This is not deep massage, it's a conversation with the web. Breathing is directed to the area. Inhale while imagining the air reaching exactly where your hands are. Exhale, allowing the tension to gently dissolve. Robert Schleip showed that fascia contains smooth muscle cells that respond to slow, sustained stimuli with progressive relaxation. Third stage, neural anchoring with an internal phrase. While touching and breathing, hold a short phrase in your mind. For hypervigilance, I can rest and still be safe. For collapse, I can rise without overexposing myself. For shame, my body is worthy of taking up space. For stagnation, there is space within me to create. For disconnection, I can inhabit this region again. For overload, I can process and release. For ancestral retention, this story no longer needs to be mine. This is not forced affirmation. It is a neural seed planted during somatic intervention. This convergence of conscious touch, minimal fascial movement, and directed intention creates what epigenetic literature calls a shift in cellular signaling. In the hermetic universe, this is alchemy, turning lead into gold, rewriting destiny as inscribed in the matter of the body. You are not just relaxing muscles, you are reprogramming the neuroimmune interface that shapes how your brain reads the world, and, as a result, how your life unfolds. Practice daily for 5 to 10 minutes, focusing on the dominant code you've identified. In 2 to 3 weeks, real changes begin to emerge. Less intense automatic reactions, more aligned decisions, and a growing sense that the body has become an ally once again. Pamela always woke up tired. At 51 years old, working as an office assistant at a medical clinic. Her life was organized, predictable, and strangely exhausting. It wasn't the job that wore her down. It was something inside her body that never rested. Her shoulders were always raised, her jaw clenched even in sleep, her neck stiff, as if always bracing for a blow that never came. She couldn't name it, but she knew she had been living on high alert for so long that she had forgotten what true relaxation felt like. The turning point came during a casual chat with a co-worker who mentioned a workshop on fascia and trauma. Pamela wrote it down, looked it up at home, and found material about neurofascial codes and polyvagal theory. For the first time, she read something that named exactly what she was feeling. Hypervigilance inscribed in the tissue. It wasn't ordinary anxiety. It was a message that her fascial web was sending to her brain, non-stop, saying danger is near. That night, she placed her hands on her neck, gently pressed her trapezius muscles, and felt hardness, density like stone wrapped in skin. She began practicing the web ritual every morning before work. She located the armor in her neck and trapezius, placed her hands there with sustained presence, breathed into that exact area. She performed microgliding movements, soft oscillations, while repeating mentally, "I can rest and still be safe." In the first days, her body resisted. The tension returned as soon as her hands left. But by the second week, something began to soften. Her breath reached a little deeper. Her jaw eased in the morning. Her neck stopped hurting constantly. 1 month later, Pamela noticed she was responding differently to situations at work. When a patient complained, she no longer felt that instant tightness in her chest and throat. She could listen, process, and respond without slipping into automatic defense mode. Her voice came out less tense. Her co-workers commented that she seemed more present, less distant. At night, for the first time in years, she was able to lie in bed and fall asleep within minutes, without mentally replaying everything that could go wrong the next day. The hypervigilance code hadn't vanished completely, but it had stopped running her life. This visceral change Pamela experienced, you can now seal into your own body. The physical marker that confirms this integration is simple: breathing that drops below the ribs and reaches the abdomen without being forced. A jaw that softens naturally when you bring awareness to it. A gentle warmth in the sternum. A sign that the nervous system is leaving the state of alert and entering a state of presence. That's how you know the web has started to send a different code to the brain, replacing constant threat with perceived safety. The anchoring gesture for this new state is this: place your right hand over your heart, your left over your abdomen. Take 3 deep breaths, feeling the air fill the space between your hands. Exhale slowly, allowing your body to release weight with each cycle. Repeat this for 30 to 60 seconds whenever you feel the old code trying to return. This double touch creates a proprioceptive circuit that reminds the nervous system of the new pattern registered during the ritual. It is somatic anchoring, not abstract visualization. The return point for when you drift off course is this: a short phrase, "I can rest now." Slow, complete breathing. 3 full cycles. An upright, yet relaxed posture. Loose shoulders, sternum gently open. Repeat this pathway whenever you notice your shoulders rising on their own, your jaw clenching, or your breath shortening. This is not a battle against the old code. It is a gentle reminder to your body that another pathway has now been recorded in the web, one you can access any time you need it. What you have just learned is not a relaxation technique. It is the decoding of a language that has always been speaking inside you, but no one taught you how to read. The web that shapes your life is not an abstract force or distant cosmic decree. It is a physical conversation between tissue and brain, a somatic message repeated so many times that it became identity. When you place your hands on your own body and recognize which code is dominating your existence in this moment, something changes forever. You stop being driven by invisible impulses and begin to dialogue with the force that shapes your choices before consciousness even forms. Meister Eckhart said, "The seed of God is in us." That seed does not grow only in the mind or in the disembodied spirit. It grows in the tissue, in the fascia, in the web that connects organs to muscles, cells to neural circuits, breath to inner state. God did not inscribe his language only in the skies or in ancient scriptures. He wove it, fiber by fiber, into the body you inhabit, waiting for you to learn how to decipher what has always been written there. The temple is not an external structure. It is the living flesh, where the divine and the human meet with every breath. That's why destiny was never an unchangeable sentence. It is a flow of codes sent from the web to the brain, shaping perceptions, limits, possibilities, and reactions. While these codes remain hidden, you keep repeating stories you never chose, reacting in ways you don't recognize, and stagnating in areas that were meant to flourish. But the moment you see the web, touch the web, breathe through the web, and offer it a new instruction, the flow begins to shift. This is not vague magic. It is somatic alchemy, where intention, conscious touch, and cellular reorganization converge to rewrite what once seemed inevitable. You don't have to accept the life programmed by the old web. You don't have to carry inherited patterns as if they were unbreakable law. You don't have to live in constant alertness, chronic collapse, or internal disconnection just because the tissue learned it as survival. With every cycle of the web ritual, you are reprogramming the interface that determines how your brain reads the world. And when the brain reads differently, life unfolds differently. That simple, that deep, that transformative. The web that moves your life was hidden until now. Not anymore. You have the codes. You have the ritual. You have the anatomical map showing where your existence is held and how to release it. Destiny is no longer an impenetrable mystery. It is a readable language, written in the one place you've always had full access to, your own body. When the web is reprogrammed, the impossible is no longer a decree, it becomes an invitation. If this content resonated with you, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of the revelations still to come. If you feel called to directly support Transcend's mission, helping produce more content that merges science and ancestral wisdom and reaching more people who need to awaken, consider becoming a channel member. Your support keeps this flame of deep knowledge alive, and I want to know, do you feel the web responding inside you now? Write in the comments, I reprogram the web that moves my life. That affirmation seals your presence on the path of somatic reprogramming. Share this video with someone who needs to understand that destiny is not an external decree, but a language written in the body. And don't stop here. Click on the screen and dive into another transformative video from the channel, because each code you decode brings you closer to the inner sovereignty you were born to live. And remember, when fascia stops being a mystery and becomes an ally, the brain reads the world differently, and your life is rewritten.